Hello, buddy.
Am I here?
Hello, howdy doody, buddy.
Yo, what's up? Sorry, I was listening to both you on the stream and you in Discord, so it was
Yeah. Feel free to mute me on stream.
Yeah. You've been muted. Silence.
Who do you think you are? Get out. You know what? No.
I told you.
Get your face out of here.
I'm like ready to go.
You're gone.
I'm
Get out.
hyped.
So we're actually filming this without Gino today. We're only going to be applying my opinion because whatever Gino says doesn't matter anyways.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
You're
No.
You're gonna want me to be here as a hype man. You know? Come on.
No, it's
Don't
okay.
get
Well,
rid of
I
me.
guess we'll let you stay. Maybe.
I'll be a good corporate cog for you. Okay. I'll be
You better be a corporate shill, Gino. Okay. only for the stream.
I love the Wonder Project. I love your resident nerds.
I love
You're
Wonder
the
Project.
best.
Anyway, Gino, what are we talking about today?
Oh, well, we're talking about, as you said earlier in our intro, we're going to get into What If. I believe we're going to be talking a little bit about the comic book origins of What If. I don't know if origins is the right word here.
Yeah, we're more going to be...
theories of What If, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of curious myself. Before we really get into it, start. And I'm just quickly looking up, because What If has a very interesting history behind it. So... let's jump into it. So first of all, just to introduce myself, my name is Nikita Laskowski. I'm your local resident nerd. And this is
Gino. I'm cutting you off. I apologize. I told you I'm hyped today. I'm ready to go. My name is
space. What? Sorry, continue.
My name is Gino. Green eyes.
Gino, I'm not gonna hurt you. What? Not today.
It's nice to see you guys again. I've missed you all. I've missed talking with Nikita about this, and I've been raring to tear this show down. Like the negative little Nancy I am.
Whoa, yeah.
Not to spoil our opinion on it.
Sorry, we're not corporate shills, Disney and Marvel.
Some real shit.
Just because we like Shang-Chi doesn't mean we like you. Wow.
I can't wait to talk about that today because, like I said, I saw some comment the other day that really pissed me off. That it was like some dude was trying to be like, "Yo, Marvel fans are just becoming the new Star Wars fans. You guys just like don't think any of the new stuff is like fun or like you just sort of like a stick in the mud about everything." I'm like, it's not that, man. I fucking loved Shang-Chi.
I was gonna say.
I thought it was great, and like, you know. I call out what I think is bad, and I call out what I think is good. It's that fucking simple. I knew what I wanted out of What If, kind of coming out, like going into it, and they didn't meet that expectation. They didn't meet an expectation alternate to it that I thought was good. They just kind of it was a low blow, you know.
Yeah, well, let's talk about What If, like the comic What If, because I love the comic concept of What If, and that's why I was so hyped for this TV show, and maybe that's why now I'm a little more like, not like a fan of it. But for like the comic What If, for those of you that don't know, What If started. Let me double check the date on this, but when did
What If
comic?
is like an older series now, technically, right?
Much older. Like I think they in the 70s. The What If started in the 70s.
That's right. I was going to say that's what I thought. I thought that they were pretty.
With the very first one was What If Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four, and there are a lot of old like What If stories. Like here, we can show off a few right now. One of my personal favorites is What If Spider-Man had kept his cosmic powers. And so, as you can tell, What If kind of centers around the idea that they take a major plot point from a character's history, a major decision or a major change, and alter it slightly. So in this case, for those of you who don't remember, comic book Spider-Man had I think it's not the Power Cosmic, it's the Enigma Force, I believe is what it's called, but it's basically the powers of Captain Universe, which is an ability set that switches between heroes depending on when the universe needs them. And so in this case, the universe needed Spider-Man to become Cosmic Spider-Man in order to face off against a different cosmic threat. I believe he was facing the Hulk in this issue. I could be wrong, or there was another issue where Hulk had gotten it from him. It's all up in the air. It doesn't really matter. The story was forever ago. But in this case, instead of the cosmic powers leaving Spider-Man and choosing a new host, this What If comic goes over what if the cosmic powers just stayed with Spider-Man and stayed with Peter Parker. Which is really cool.
If he had gotten like the Phoenix Force or something like that.
Yeah.
stuck on him.
Yes, exactly. Or like the powers of the Silver Surfer and such, you know. Obviously, really big change to his character because Peter Parker is a street level character most of the time who deals with street level issues. So for him to get cosmic level abilities and then having to save the universe, very big difference than what he's usually used to. It's not something he's constantly thrown at. So that's one example. We also have a few other examples, such as going on to what if Captain America had stayed after World War II. So instead of vanishing, he had actually lived. And that goes over, obviously, the big key difference is Captain America not freezing and then being unfrozen at the start of the Avengers and then being in our current timeline. He would have stayed and potentially passed on his legacy or would have been involved with different characters historically or been involved in potentially the Vietnam War, which actually he kind of was involved in the Vietnam War. That was actually retconned into him being a World War II hero, but that's a whole nother story on its own. But as you can tell, What If tackles these really cool concepts and make major changes. And What If actually was doing really well back in the 70s and 80s. And I think it was around the 90s that it had gotten canceled because Marvel was going through its bankruptcy phase. And so they couldn't really afford to keep doing all these different comic book stories or single issues because a lot of these were just one issue stories. They're larger issues, so they're not 30 pages. They're more around 60 to 80 pages. So you get a full story's worth out of it, but it was a little more financially consuming because you were releasing all these single issue stories. And so even if someone was hooked onto one story, maybe they wouldn't be hooked onto the next story because it's a totally different character, totally different premise that they don't care about. So it's kind of why they trashed the idea going into the 90s. So in the 2000s, they kind of brought back What If series, but they only did it for a lot of their major events that were coming out. So every now and then they'd sprinkle out a What If comic, but it would be related to probably their biggest event that happened years ago. So Civil War had gotten its own What If comic, and it was basically a continuation of if What If hadn't stopped, or if Civil War hadn't stopped where it originally did and Cap was assassinated or gave up, and would continue on forward. Obviously, makes a major difference in the entire Marvel landscape. It affects one of its major events. There are other events that they do What If series for, like what if the Annihilation Wave hadn't ended, what if in Thanos Infinity, and that story had played out differently where Thanos achieved this multiversal level power called, I think it was either the Infinity or the End. But it touches up on a lot of really neat things that you wouldn't regularly see in their main storyline. And so we all have those like dying old questions of like, what's going to happen now? Like, what if, a really cool one is, what if Thor was raised by the Frost Giants? That was a recent one that came out just like 2 years ago. That one's a really interesting idea. And here, I've got the cover for that just so you all can see it. But Thor, obviously, completely different than how he usually is. That's a unique concept. And then one of my favorite ones that have recently come out is what if Flash Thompson became Spider-Man? And that really changes up the entire story for it. And this one's huge as well. And that really changes up the entire story for Flash Thompson and Peter Parker. Uncle Ben ends up surviving the whole thing. Flash Thompson would eventually get arrested because he accidentally murders his abusive father. So it takes a wild turn, and it's one of my favorite What If series. And the Spider-Man costume for Flash Thompson is really sick. But that's what I mean, is you have a completely new character in this set of roles, and everything changes because of it. Like the Marvel Universe is not the same, which is why the premise of What If is so cool. And I'm glad they finally brought it back. And they're now doing longer form What If stories. So like I said, this What If issue was just a single issue, a slightly longer single issue, but regardless, just one issue in itself. Now they're doing What If stories like what if Spider-Man kept the symbiote, which has already been a What If story, but this is a more updated version of it, where they had like 5 to 6 issues for the entire story, not just one small issue for it. So Marvel's taking What If a little more seriously now, and I don't know if it's because of like the TV show, but in its comic book form, you're basically just getting a ton of different Elseworld stories, which is really cool to see. And most of them don't really blend in. Sometimes you'll see some of these characters, like the what if Peter had kept the cosmic Spider-Man abilities, that you got to see his character cameo in the Spider-Verse comic. I forget what it's called. Maybe it is just Spider-Verse, because there's a second Spider-Verse called Spider-Verse Spider-Geddon 2. And I don't think he appears in that because he, spoiler alert, dies in the first Spider-Verse series. Yeah, but you get to see a lot of these cool characters kind of cross over from time to time, but they're kind of like rarities. You're not going to see them that often.
So the Marvel What If technically does count as like canon, quote unquote, for the multiverse.
Yes, it's definitely canon in the multiverse. You know it's in the multiverse. Also, I'm going to turn down my mic because I feel like I'm very loud. But yeah, so What If comic book wise, really cool concept. Absolutely love it. I think it's one of the probably the best ideas Marvel has ever come out with, and DC has even simulated this with their own comic book Elseworld stories. And so I love the comics, and that's why I'm disappointed in the show. So if we want to do you have any questions about the comics itself?
No, I just wanted to comment real quick about like what ifs, like the genius of what if. Do you know what alternate history is? Are you familiar with that genre?
I believe so. Yeah.
So I'm a history master's student, right? And so like one
Yes.
of our fascinating things that people like to do in terms of like literature is like you go back and look at history and look at like alternate events. And so I think one of the most famous authors of this is this guy named Harry Turtledove. And so, for instance, he made a story about like what if aliens invaded during World War II. He made another one that like what if the Confederates had AK-47s? What would the Civil War have looked like? And like it's like an ingenious concept. Like it's one that we can use for like already like realistic world settings. Like we can look back in history and be like, oh shit, like what if things had been different for this choice that humans make, right? And like I think applying it to a comic book setting where the choices become even more imaginative and like the situations can be especially more like out of this world. Super great idea to follow down. Now let's talk about how Disney fails to live up to that expectation, live up to that possibility, right? The idea of what if kind of being shafted into this tight little neat box essentially that's like hidden in the corner.
So that's my biggest issue with this is that none of these, like, the reason the comic book is so cool is because you get to see it break everything you know about the Marvel universe, just from one simple change. In this case, I would say besides maybe one episode, maybe one or two, nothing really changes. Like, you just have Peggy Carter living the exact same life Steve Rogers did. And that's it. Nothing different. Besides, I mean, some small details like the final fight that they had in her episode and how
I guess like
ended up
Steve
being suspended.
Like an early Iron Man
War Machine type thing. Yeah. But even then, it doesn't change the overall universal landscape. With the Killmonger episode, that no character is different at all. Besides, Killmonger is just slightly smarter and enacts his plan early enough to where he's not going to face any conflict from it.
He's just a fucking genius, apparently.
Yes.
Long before the Avengers were around.
Yes. And like it's cool seeing these like neat little changes, but that's it. They're just neat little changes. They don't change the Marvel universe itself. T'Challa is basically just Star-Lord, like T'Challa as Star-Lord, and that's it. Nothing changes from that. Yondu is still the exact same character. The Guardians of the Galaxies or everything.
Yondu became a dumbass, bro. I'm so ready. Like, I think that's my main problem with this is that, like, I agree with you because I think Aiden put it really, really well when we were talking about it. That he said that this is essentially a Marvel highlights like remix where they're essentially just like going through the Marvel's greatest moments, but like, ooh, what if it was this character instead?
That's it. It's just changing out the character. That's all they really do.
You have that aspect for like half of it, and then you have another half of it where it's just like, what if like these characters were just nothing like their former counterparts that we've seen before. So not only are we messing with like the main subject matter, but Thanos is a fucking tool. Yondu is, I would argue, is a dumbass. I'm trying to think of like other people here because a lot of them weren't memorable.
Tony, kind of.
Yeah, Tony, like everybody in that Killmonger episode, like just everybody but Killmonger and I think Miss Potts were like had a brain. Everyone else was a dumbass. The other one, what's his name? Hank Pym is either a moron or just evil.
It's like the characters. It's not like the genius thing about What If is it's a small difference that changes the characters for that reason. In this case, the characters are different, and that's what causes the small difference, which is stupid to me. It's a dumb concept. It means that character is no longer their character. You are writing them entirely differently, as opposed to writing it as that character going through a event differently, like experiencing it differently. That's my biggest issue with the TV show, and they play it way too safe, like incredibly safe. They did not go like why I love the comic book version so much is because it goes out of its bounds and it's meant to be like, oh, this is a completely different story now. In this case, it felt like the exact same MCU film that we saw, just like you said earlier, with a different character, which I think was pointless. Like when we all saw these teasers and trailers, we were like, oh, this could be different. Maybe like Captain Carter will like do something different or be a different version of Steve, you know, but instead she's just exactly like Steve, just Peggy Carter. That's it. The only one that really had me interested, which I think you would agree, Gino, was the Doctor Strange episode.
Oh, I love that episode. I will say that I unironically loved that episode. I thought it was really amazing, actually. And I thought it was the only one that kind of played with the character and was like, you know, what are the alternatives here? And like, what could he turn into? What Doctor Strange like could be? And like, yeah, I didn't really get that.
Literally.
Like a good comparison one to that is like, okay, we get to see the expands and bounds of like what Doctor Strange could be, and in an alternate one, we have fucking Party Thor, who I guess just without Loki just became a fucking asshole.
That's it.
That's it. Like.
Became a dick. Okay. And him and Loki were bros, which is cool. I did like Loki in that series, but that's it. Which also still doesn't make as much sense. You're telling me that if he lived with the Frost Giants, he would be like a chill, good guy? Because as we know, his father, I forget his father's name, Idriv, something like that.
Didn't he want to like wage war against
war and despise Loki? And I get that because I was in like the main Marvel universe, but why would that be different in this universe? Wouldn't he raise Loki to be like a ruthless warlord type character as opposed to like a fun broski-esque guy? It made no sense. I never saw
Thor like in terms of like Thor and Loki's relationship. I mean, Loki wasn't what caused Thor, I think, to become like the warrior, like the spirited warrior that was, you know, deserving of Mjolnir in our universe, right?
Yeah,
like, that was his father's actions to send him to Earth because he was also being a dick at that point.
Yes.
So like, I don't understand.
So why did that still not happen here? Is the thing.
I don't know.
Thor's still being a dick. Is it just Odin just decided to get? Is the what if Odin just gave Thor Mjolnir instead? Was that?
Yeah. What if Thor's father just was like a really bad role model?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like the real what if. I'm trying. Can we go over the episodes real quick, just one time, just to get them off, just so a quick repeat of the first.
Yeah,
one
let me pull up the
Captain
episode
Carter.
list so I know.
Yeah.
What if episode list? All right. There we go. Yes. First one is Captain Carter. What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? That's a very weird way. Why not was the first Avenger? All right. Anyways, yeah, that was the first one. I was on it. I didn't mind it. I thought it was an interesting start, but again, it was just Peggy Carter.
So like, I thought it was. I agree with you that it was mostly highlight reels. I kind of liked how they changed some of the missions because if I'm remembering correctly, they got like she was able to like get the cube back like really early, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah. So like, okay, that's cool. Steve in the armor, whatever. It's kind of, as you said, it's really safe, and then like, it's kind of amazing that they would have had that armor back then, anyways. But whatever, fine, okay. The next one was
what if T'Challa became Star-Lord, which we've gone over. That was literally just him living out.
Was like, what if he was like the most amazing person in the universe, and honestly, like Peter Quill was like trash in comparison, and like it's really sad that he became.
It was just
Star-Lord.
Exactly that. T'Challa as Star-Lord. Nothing.
T'Challa was able to convince.
If you would just
stop.
If he had just gone to space as Black Panther, I think it would just be the exact same result. Like, would not be any different. Third one was what if the world lost its mightiest heroes? That was the one with Nick Fury trying to recruit the Avengers, but they were getting assassinated.
That one was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I didn't mind that one.
Yeah, I liked Loki showing up at the end and like just absolutely like dominating on Hank Pym, just fucking him up casually. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really nice. That would probably be my second favorite episode outside of the Doctor Strange one. If I had to give you two,
I think my second was the zombie one.
I didn't think the zombie one was bad either. But
yeah, I like the zombie one. That was the Doctor Strange one afterwards. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart? That one was really good. As we said, that actually felt like the one that made a difference and changed the character itself and everything around it, which I thought was really cool. It's a darker version of Doctor Strange that's willing to not pull his punches, which is super.
And
sick.
they like kind of they kind of changed his power setup a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like he kind of had like that organic like monster vibe going for him, which I thought was really nice. It felt more like Eldritch, I guess. Like I fucked with it. I was really, I was into it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then the next what if is what if zombies, which didn't really feel like a what if episode. This could be its own like movie. I feel like I like this episode. Like I love everything about it, the characters, the villains, everything. I dislike that it was just put under the what if umbrella, because it's like, what if Hank Pym had done this and then zombies? Because it's really not that. It's literally just Marvel zombies and that's it.
Yeah.
And I do dislike that they set up like Thanos, zombie Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet and did nothing with him.
Don't get me
I was
started.
hoping that was going to be a part 2. It was not.
So much.
I do think he might be a villain in season 2. He might be the main big bad, is like spreading a zombie infection. That's my theory, because I don't think they'd do that whole introduction for him at the end and not use him, because they have like they teased Gamora and Iron Man. We'll get into that when we get into the last episode, but the Gamora and Iron Man that we didn't know like who the fuck they were in the final episode that we were supposed to care about apparently are going to show up in season 2, which I thought that was stupid. But to continue on, the next one is what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark?
God, that episode, bro. Tony Stark was a tool.
Probably my second least favorite one. Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, I liked seeing Killmonger like do his shit. Like that was nice, I guess. But
Yeah.
Everyone around him was just like.
I love Killmonger's characters. Like I absolutely love it. It didn't feel like I was watching a different version of any of them at all. It just felt like I'm watching the same thing happen, just like if he did things a little earlier and everyone else just was stupid. And that's it. The next one after that is what if Thor were an only child, which is really fucking stupid. Probably my least favorite episode out of all of them. Absolutely felt. And also, Thor didn't feel that different from main MCU Thor because he was just a comedic beat stick, which is all main MCU Thor is now. And I hate that. Thor has so much character to him and so much depth, especially with like the weight of him being the next king of Asgard. And that's why like comic book Thor right now is killing it, like his series right now, and the issues he's dealing with when it comes to depression, whether he feels worthy of himself, anxiety, and just the whole pressure of the entire throne on him. Super cool. And when Thor's like serious and a badass, oh my god, he's arguably one of the most badass characters in Marvel. And then MCU Thor just haha funny, make a dumb joke. Thor doesn't know how to like.
I swear, in regards to the MCU, I think this is like one of your hottest takes, and like I understand where you're coming from. I'm not trying to like be like you're wrong, Nikito, but like in comparison to like I know how like other people feel, and like
love him. They love his character.
Take,
I know. I hate that too. I hate that it's a hot take. But it's whatever.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I totally agree with you, though, is that I literally could see almost zero difference between his character in this episode versus, like, him just being... Only, I guess, that he had zero serious moments. I kind of like Thor from Endgame. I think Endgame Infinity War Thor is probably, like, my favorite dynamic between the two, just to see how much he changes in that 5-year period. But this version of him was just, like, it was, like, the worst of Thor... just over and over and over again. I don't mind Thor being like comedic in some senses, but this one he was just like a fucking douche, bro. Yeah, I agree, Ty. End of Infinity War Thor is like a fucking one, dude. I love that variant of him. I'm very excited to see what he ends up looking like in Thor Love and Thunder. But I feel like it's bad episode, bro. Bad episode.
Yeah, not my favorite. And then next one was what if Ultron won. That was an amazing episode.
I'm actually gonna change. I was about to say that one would probably be my second favorite.
Yeah, I think so.
In totality, yeah, I thought it was really nice.
That one actually felt like I was reading a what if comic for the first time when that episode aired, because it actually does change the entire landscape of that universe. However, they saved it and only used this method for the finale, which was my issue. I'd rather them have done these big changes throughout. Obviously, this is a bigger change because it's like, what if Ultron had won and fucking got the Infinity Gauntlet instead of Thanos and just ripped everything apart, and then bam.
That was the one
what?
I didn't like.
How he
Thanos
was very scuffed. I agreed. That's
why I'm saying is that like I've seen some people like defend this series in regards to making Tony Stark and Thanos seem as like lesser villains in the grand scheme of things, and it's less about like making them lesser villains, and like if you want to prop up Ultron, then have him beat like Thanos at his prime, like figure out a way that he would be able to do it. Like this whole like one-shot bullshit is just like so...
It's cheap.
so frustrating. It's cheap. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally it's cheap. And you know what's worse is that there's an epic battle of Ultron with the entire Infinity, like all the Infinity Stones versus Captain Marvel. When the reality is that fight would be over in like that fight would never even start, right? If he's able to cut Thanos in half that easily, when he has the entirety of the, I'm sorry, that was the part.
Yeah, because it's not like Captain Marvel is on the same level as Thanos either. I don't think. I don't remember her. Like, I remember she had her big moment in Endgame, but like, and there was a time for whatever reason where she was going toe to toe, but like Thor, that was so weird because Marvel's power scaling. Because we just saw in the What If episode, Thor stomped on Captain Marvel, and then Captain Marvel stomps on Thanos though in Endgame, but then Thor doesn't stomp on Thanos, which is my issue. There just needs to be like better power scaling with this, and then in the series, like, Ultron just fucking dominates Thanos, and it just makes him seem like, I'm like, why did the Avengers struggle? Why did Vision struggle at all with Thanos? Why did Vision not just do that technically?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like, that makes no sense. Them having an epic battle and then winning is cool, because then it's like, oh, it's closer. It's like, oh yeah, that's why like Vision didn't do that in Endgame or in Infinity War, because it was a very close fight and he doesn't know if he could actually win it. But in this case, he one-shots Thanos. Like, yeah, he could have done that in Infinity War. There's no argument against it.
Think how like terrifying.
Punching Captain Marvel with the stone, another go-to moment. Oh my God. I actually love Captain Marvel. I hope I do want to clarify, because I know there are a lot of Captain Marvel haters. But
I'm not even trying. I was going to say, I'm not even trying to hate on her. It's just like, I think it was
the
just
scaling,
a misappropriation of resources. That like, why would you? Frustration.
That was one thing. The rest of the episode, amazing. And then we get to the finale.
Yeah, I just like, I didn't appreciate the whole, just that one shot of Thanos. That made him look like a weenie, and then like I said, it was the Star-Lord T'Challa episode where like T'Challa just said genocide bad, and I guess Thanos was like, damn, no one's ever told me that before. I guess you're right. I guess I should stop this quest.
Literally, I just, this gets me. It's this scene right here. It just gets me how quickly he switches. Like, that's it. That's all it takes.
Yeah, literally, that's what happened to Thanos in the grand scheme of What If. And like I said, I know they're trying to like move on to other stuff, but it's just not the way to do it. I would love to see Ultron outsmarting Thanos in some way, where he's using the power of one stone to get the head over on somebody who has 4. I think that's super cool to think about. But
and I think it arguably could happen, but as you said, we don't see it, which is the lame thing. And then we get to the finale.
And then we have our final episode, which I guess we'll go into now. We'll switch over into talking about it in full.
Yeah, the finale, me and Gino did not like.
Why did the Watcher choose who he chose?
I don't know. I guess because he knew for whatever reason they'd have plot Oh yeah, why Thor? How is that Thor able to tank Ultron's like blast punches and Infinity Stone level hits, while the Thor from that universe, who was actually a badass, just gets stomped? I don't know, because it's not like this Thor by any means is a great warrior from the What If episode at all. I hope you all have seen this episode. You all really should just watch it, because like the end of the last episode sets it up perfectly, where it's like, shoot, like Ultron with the Infinity Stones, like, look at this. He just
bodied the Watcher.
Bodies the Watchers, destroys galaxies and slices them apart. Like, what?
And I also want to say, like, does he have a fit that is like similar to that in the comics? Because I love Ultron's design in What If, by the way. I forgot to.
Yeah, that's his main design.
His look looks so like terrifying.
This
super cool.
This is his main design, besides the Vision part underneath. Obviously, that's just regular, just like red plasma energy. That's his main design, besides the stones as well. In the comics, like, it's more threatening, and that's why a lot of people hated Age of Ultron. He just looked like a robotic human, while his like side robots actually looked a little more intimidating. That's why I love this Ultron. And I was actually just like, for the finale, I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing villain for your finale. Like, how are they actually going to top this? That's why I was so hyped after episode 8. Then episode 9 drops, and I'm waiting, like, the Watchers getting all the Avengers together, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, you've got street level Captain Peggy Carter.
Captain Carter, yeah.
Street level T'Challa as Star-Lord. I mean, maybe you could argue mid-tier because of his like guns and that's it. Street level Killmonger, even though like, yeah, he's got vibranium, that could bring him up mid-tier, but max he could take is like the level of like a continent.
Killmonger's
maybe
also evil. Let's
evil, let's reiterate that. Evil.
Again, I don't know why. Well, I guess if the Watcher knew it was gonna happen on later, that maybe that's why he chose him, but like,
yeah.
Okay.
And then
right.
a Black Widow with the skills of Hawkeye. Oof, you're really adding it to the power there. Gamora with like who we don't know at all. Don't know if she's more powerful than she is, but otherwise she's just peak street level in the MCU. Like it's a ton of street level characters, and then Doctor Strange. And the entire time.
Thor. I guess Thor is
Thor too. Yeah, Thor's cosmic. But like the most idiotic version of Thor you can grab, and they're supposed to kill this Ultron who has the Infinity Stones and is wiping galaxies, and then
not only the Infinity Stones, because I'm fairly certain that they tried to imply in the episode that these Infinity Stones were super special and allowed him to breach the multiverse. Like that was the whole thing, right? Is that the universe that they were in is that their stones were supposed to be like super great. That's why the Crusher didn't work on them. Maybe that's a misinterpretation.
No, I think you misinterpreted it because the Crusher didn't work on them because it, for whatever reason, because it's not from its universe, which is so stupid. Like,
interesting.
What? Mm-hmm. Why doesn't it work because it's from a different universe? It's meant to destroy infinity level stones. Does it really make that much of a difference? And if that's the case, then why do the stones work outside of their universe? Did they? I don't think they ever said that they were special stones. I think they, and I get that they never implied that the stones don't work in their universe. Like TVA did say the stones don't work outside of the timeline. So you could argue that there is a difference between that technically, but it's still very stupid that the Crusher
I wish that would have been
wouldn't work.
explained in some sense.
Yes.
You're telling me this is the first universe that like the Watchers watched that somebody who gained the Infinity Stones tried to go out of the multiverse.
Yes.
You're telling me that was the first time. So, like, if it wasn't the first time, that's great. But, like, explain what the fuck happened.
Yes.
That Ultron became self-aware about everything post the universe and was like,
Which you could argue is because of Ultron AI, and I get that. Like, and maybe that's why it makes him more threatening. I love that he's more threatening. That's why I loved him as the finale villain. But then they slap that because they put him up against a bunch of street level characters, the dumbest version of Thor, and then Doctor Strange, who arguably carried this whole thing.
He did carry the whole fight.
The whole fight. He's the only. He was like, he's the only one that was doing stuff. He's the only one that was doing stuff. And so they somehow beat him. The entire time, they're just dunking on him. He barely hits them, besides Thor, because Thor's the only one that can take all the damage. And I'm like, how are you physically harming a man who can tank the galaxy being wiped away? Like, and then we're sitting there and we're like, why doesn't he just destroy the fucking galaxy? Like, why are you not doing anything right now?
Destroy the planet. What were they gonna do if he blew up the planet?
Well, so he is that what he does? He does like some sort of explosion, right? I thought it's where he destroys the galaxy.
Well,
and then Doctor Strange.
That was the previous planet with the zombies.
No, I'm talking about with. Also, I just forgot they did destroy it. But anyways, moving on. But that in the fight he does like blow something up, doesn't he? Or doesn't he attempt to? And then I guess Doctor Strange stops it with the time stone, with his time stone. Am I wrong? Am I misremembering this?
That was when he stopped time. He would like let off like a massive blast, and I think Doctor Strange just ate it. I think that was what was supposed to be implied.
Oh yeah.
Because they cut over to a scene of him like munching on something,
which also makes no sense because I get it. Like Doctor Strange is using the dark arts and using what I think what we're assuming is Cthulhu, the god of evil and all that. But wouldn't the Infinity Stone still be above that? Like the Time Stone itself fucked over Dormammu, who is also you could argue at that level of like god of evil from another dimension. So why is this other god of evil able to tank an entire Infinity Blast? It just like while Doctor Strange did carry, he should not have still survived and or solo tanked Thanos.
Did our version of Doctor Strange not have that simple protection spell?
Yeah.
That he was talking about?
I guess not.
Because like that's the whole reason that they seemingly beat Ultron is he just couldn't get past this fucking spell that Doctor Strange put on all of them.
Yeah. Also, all these what if universes make the whole Doctor Strange 1 in 14 million way of beating Thanos even dumber.
More laughable.
More laughable. Yeah, I agree. Because that it clearly shows, there were several other ways you could have gone about this. But yeah, that's my biggest issue is Ultron in any second of this fight could have just destroyed the universe and that's it and won and didn't have to worry about this Guardians of the Universe team, Avengers type team. But he doesn't do that, and then eventually Strange uses his time stone against Ultron, which was actually really cool. I thought that was neat. Strange having to outsmart Ultron with a single Infinity Stone while Ultron has all 5 or 6, I guess, was a neat thing. I love that part of the fight. The rest of the fight, stupid.
Our Doctor Strange never did that, even when he didn't have the time stone. So.
No,
they
just never wanted to use the Infinity Stones against Thanos, which was genius play by our Avengers team.
And I don't mean to shit on this show the whole time
because we love parts of it.
It was just really frustrating. I think because that's why I brought up the alternate history thing earlier because good alternate history versus bad alternate history is being able to add explanation to what we see as people's characters in real life, or things that are possible. And trying to do just a little shift. What if doesn't really work if you're just trying to shove an alternate scenario down our throat and just throwing reason aside off at every fucking angle that you can because you want certain things to happen in that alternate timeline, right?
Just such a waste. And there was so many different ways that could have gone. I was like, how are they really going to beat this Ultron? And they did it in the simplest way possible, which is so dumb. I was hoping that they would have to scour from universe to universe and find their own Infinity Stones and bring them together from each individual universe. And it'd be cool seeing T'Challa Star-Lord with the Infinity Gauntlet or something like that. That'd be neat to see, but we never saw that.
I thought that's what they were setting it up in the What If because they introduced all the stones in different scenarios with all these different characters, and then it just didn't come back, I guess.
Nope. And also they just I was really hoping the characters would interact a lot more than they did too. Killmonger and T'Challa interacting both together I think would have been really cool. And we didn't really get that besides one point of T'Challa saying cousin and Killmonger going, no, I'm not your cousin. Which also, how does this T'Challa know that Killmonger's his cousin?
It was that awkward moment where poor Doctor Strange was trying to give a speech and T'Challa was like, nah, man, shut up.
And just went into it.
To the Guardians of the Multiverse ? And everyone was like, woo.
Yeah, the characters just didn't even have chemistry together. They were all just put together to fight, and that's it. And again, really hate that it was just street level versus a god. And somehow they came out on top. So that's my official Marvel's What If review. Bland and safe.
It just could have been better, man.
Yeah.
I hate to be just do better next time, guys, but have some fun with it. I know Disney wants to have fun with these shows. We wouldn't have had WandaVision otherwise if they weren't willing to like go out and experiment and do things. But like, if you're gonna do Marvel What If, like, go off the fucking walls, Kings.
Yeah.
Like, stop being so safe about it. I agree. Safe is like a perfect word to describe it.
Yeah.
I think.
And it was also just so dumb how they introduced Gamora and Iron Man from that universe, and we were just not invested in them at all. And like, they play this scene where it like seems tense, and all of us when we were watching were like, what is going on? Was this an episode we missed? And then the Watcher came and grabbed them, and it was not explained at all until after, where Disney like put a news story out after, going like, oh yeah, they're from next season, don't worry. Why? That's so dumb.
From what I understand, I think they had to move it back because of COVID. Like, it was supposed to be in this season, but
interesting.
Like, I don't understand what happened between the season finale and that, where they couldn't, because she was unneeded in the story was the other thing, because her Infinity Crusher didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why she was included if you couldn't include her episode in the season. I don't know if they produced that episode first somehow, or
and then didn't release it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree with you. It's wacky that I'm thinking back at it now. It's wacky that happened. I also I think these what ifs would benefit from being longer. I don't think the 20-minute format helps too much. I don't know what it works like for the comic books, because I haven't read them. I know you said they're usually like 30-page issues, but you can usually get a lot
single
more
issues are 30 pages. What if single issues themselves were closer to like 50 to 80? depending on the
Yeah,
story.
so
So
like
they
I mean,
had
the amount of information you can get out in like 50 to 80 pages. I mean, 30
is a
pages
lot.
alone you can get out a lot. Like 50 to 80 is even more than
That's
that.
essentially 2 to 3 issues, which is almost an
Yeah.
entire arc. So
And so like having like 20 like I think the last one was like over 20 minutes or like 30ish minutes long if I'm remembering correctly. I think
Yeah.
the rest of them are only about 20-minute episodes, and like it just doesn't help, man. Like,
yeah,
you need more than that. Like if I'm doing alternate history, for example, I can't just be like aliens arrived at World War II, so everyone it ended up in a new Cold War. Like okay, you wanna explain a little bit more than that? You wanna explain like the nuances of it? Like I think that's what makes What If special, is like, as you said, is like having a small moment and seeing the butterfly effect of it essentially, and see how it spreads out and moves along and causes all these cracks and formations for the characters and the scenarios that they're in. You know, like that's in my mind, that's what I could see What If being. When you set it in like a 20-minute format, then yeah, you have to play it safe because you can only convey so much in 20 minutes, unfortunately.
Exactly. And it makes it's hard because then it's weird because they set up stuff like What If Zombies had the whole Thanos Infinity Gauntlet thing, and we're at the end just kind of like, okay, well, what's happening now? We kind of want more. Like this feels like this was half the story. So you're with that time constraint, I really do think they should just do 30 to 40-minute episodes. I don't know why Disney really plays it safe with all their animation series and only go to 20 minutes. It's really dumb. I do think they should expand to like 40-minute episodes. Western animation
Star
also
Wars,
has
like
general
they
issue.
needed to like take like a book from like Star Wars Visions, because Star Wars Visions to me like provides like a good alternative for like what could happen in Star Wars. What you can use Star Wars as a genre to like create different stories.
That's
and,
a good way to put it.
know,
Star Wars Visions is just a better What If for Star Wars than What If was for Marvel.
Yeah. And like, you know, Marvel has the chance to do that. Marvel's got a pretty huge compendium at this point for its cinematic universe. Like there's a lot to play with, there's a lot to pull from, and a lot of different stories you can come up with it for. The problem is that they were just like, they chose some busted stories.
Really, yeah, they made some really interesting creative decisions in this, which I was not a fan of. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Marvel's
I think that's
What
our
If.
wrap up for the most part, right?
I think we've said everything we should say. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree or disagree? If you agree with us, let us know. But if you disagree, really reach out to us and tell us why. I'm very curious why you might have enjoyed this over the comics, or why you might have found this to be one of your favorite series. Genuinely, because I'd love to have a conversation about it. Feel free to reach out to us on your Resident Nerds Instagram and our TikTok page. We're very active there and are always open to DMs, like anytime. So
I'd love to argue with someone about this. Give it to me.
I don't want to argue. I just more would say conversate. But Gino will argue with you. I will conversate with you.
I got a fiery opinion about this matter, right? I'm ready to swing on it. Not
gonna lie.
SMH tie. No, that's okay. Honestly, I don't know, man.
You're not missing out on much right now.
I don't know if you're missing out on a ton.
The only show I would say to watch is maybe Loki. That one kind of sets up like what seems like the multiverse for Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and potentially Scarlet Witch.
I'm still so curious how they're gonna do it in the future.
Watch
like whenever
Visions
the next.
first. Okay, go for it.
Well, I was gonna say if like whenever the next big movie comes out, like if they're gonna try to shoehorn like exposition from the shows, or if they're really gonna trust the people who've been watching them.
Have watched all the shows. I know that's we'll see. I don't think they're gonna shoehorn. I think they're gonna expect them to, so that people, if they haven't watched it, when they watch the movie, will go back and watch this TV series to make sure that they're up to date. Because it's Disney.
Disney's got us by the balls.
Capitalism, yeah.
Woo! Oh, my Lord.
I love it.
Yeah. Final decision. What if? Could have been better. GG,
what if this series was good? Sorry, that's it. That's all I have to say. Like, I wish it was. Anyways, again, feel free to follow us. Check it out if you want to see this full review again and go back on our thoughts. We're going to be posting this on YouTube, and we have all of our other podcast episodes there. So if you ever miss a stream, you can catch everything there. It's just Your Resident Nerds, youtube.com or youtube.com/Your Resident Nerds. But feel free to find us on there. Subscribe, follow, like down below. And thank you guys for supporting. We really appreciate it. Otherwise,
if you wanna walk with us, go get our Spotify ? I think we're on there too.
we are, yeah. We just need to update it. And if you ever want to catch the live streams live, feel free to check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/Nikita Lisko. It'll be in the description below. This is for the YouTube outro for anyone confused. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. My name's Nikita, your local comic book nerd.
And I'm Gino, your bearded weeb.
Beautiful bearded, green-eyed weeb. And we're your resident nerds. Bum bum.
Thanks for watching.